Greetings, Earthlings. Something you should know about me is that I really like aliens. A little bit too much. They are one of my number one interests currently, especially because of all the modern disclosure that feels like a new thing's dropping every other week about aliens. It feels like we're so close to aliens being just public knowledge at this point. So on that note, I wanted to make another iceberg video because the last iceberg was pretty fun to make. And this one, I found a pretty recently made one on Reddit about aliens and alien encounters. And at the end, I added some of my own bonus round subjects to kind of spice it up because there were a few pieces of pretty deep ufology that were missed. So with that, we'll jump into Layer 1. Layer 1. Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book is believed to be the first U.S. government UFO research group. It was founded in 1952 and was ran until 1969. It was created as a result of numerous UFO sightings at the beginning of the Cold War. Based in Ohio at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, it would bring in legendary UFO researcher J. Allen Hynek to be the scientific consultant. The Greys. The Greys are the go-to alien you think of when you think of aliens. Those big-eyed, skinny humanoids. Yep, those are gray. Sometimes they're green, but they should be gray. The image was popularized by Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters with the Third Kind, and as of recent years with massive waves of disclosure, some whistleblowers have claimed that Greys have an alliance with the human race that was established by President Eisenhower. We gave them human subjects in exchange for pieces of their tech. Whistleblowers have also claimed that they have seen Greys in U.S. military uniforms inside of DUMBs, deep underground military bases. Another aspect of Greys I find interesting is that other whistleblowers have claimed that they are biological drones in a way, meaning that they are not the definitive species themselves, but are instead some sort of vessel that was manufactured by another race that can be telepathically controlled or piloted from another place. Where, you may ask? I don't know. Whitley Strieber, I believe I'm saying that right. He's an American author best known for his book that was written in 1989, Communication, A True Story, in which he tells his real experiences of being abducted by aliens and even communicating with him. He is particularly legitimate because he doesn't claim that he was taken to another planet. That's a recurring theme we'll see in other ones, and usually if they claim they were taken to another planet, it's probably bogus, just a heads up. Area 51. Again, one of the OG alien lore locations, a secret military base in Nevada where it is claimed that they were housing UFOs and even reverse engineering them. At this point, they certainly don't house them there anymore due to literally everyone on Earth knowing about it, but back in the day, probably a lot more probable. The Ariel School. In 1992, 62 students at the Ariel School in Zimbabwe all claimed that a UFO landed outside the school and that beings came out and communicated with all of the students telepathically, giving a message about environmentalism. Afterwards, researchers would take the students aside one by one and have them draw what they witnessed. The children all drew the same thing, a disc with what looked like little grays in front of them. Mothman. This shit isn't about aliens, it's cryptid. I'm skipping it. The Jinn, or the Djinn, I can't say that right. Let's go with the Jinn. I don't know. The Jinn are demons that are part of Islamic mythology. And you may better know them as genies. They come out of the bottle, But there is a theory that they may be some sort of alien. Some researchers into the subject have claimed that the subjects could be traced to aliens. In fact, the Quran describes the jinn as shape-shifting creatures coming as orbs or humanoid or sometimes animal-like, all of which would be attributed to modern alien sightings. Orbs are another common appearance of UFOs. Humanoids like the Greys and animal-like other alien species that are believed to exist. Another interesting part is that the Quran links the jinn to water, which in modern UFO research, it is believed that UFOs often emerge and resubmerge into the ocean when they've completed their tasks, so to say. The jinn are also described as tricksters who manipulate reality around humans, which is a common theme with abductions as well. Abductees commonly claim some sort of time manipulation and misleading visuals. David Grush. David is one of the top UFO whistleblowers who's recently come around. In 2023, Grush came out and claimed that there was a massive government cover-up of UFO/UAP phenomenon. Among his claims, he said the government has multiple UFOs in its possession and has an extremely effective and discreet retrieval program. The US government then proceeds to distribute parts of these UFOs to private contractors in a hyper-compartmentalized way for reverse engineering, and that some of the UFO's intentions: missing time. This is a pretty straightforward one. People who report being abducted or even seeing a UFO will often describe that large chunks of time seem to have gone missing, meaning they saw the craft at like 9:02 p.m., for example, and they only saw it for like what felt like a minute, but when they checked the clock again, it was then 9:30. Just as an example there, it's not a literal case. This was demonstrated very effectively in the X-Files by Agent Mulder. You'd notice that whenever he saw an alien craft or believed he was encountering one, he'd set a stopwatch to see when the time stopped, or he'd always look at his clock. So there's that. Marian appearances. In 1917, in Portugal, 3 Catholic children claimed to have seen the Virgin Mary appear before them. There's more of those around the world, allegedly, but this is the key one to focus on here. The children claimed they had heard a buzzing sound and then a light orb appeared in front of them. Religious UFO researchers such as Diana Pasulka have argued that these may have been the appearances of UFOs, and there is a conspiracy that deep within the Vatican archive, the Catholic Church holds the truth and knows these to be UFO encounters. Lost evidence. This is pretty wide, but there's a lot of alleged UFO lost evidence. Stuff gets scrubbed from the internet, and claims get removed, and people receive visitors from very, very spooky men in black, wink wink. Or there was a documentary by the same name in 2017 that some claim was a disinfo campaign. But within the UFO community, pretty much everything is believed to be a disinfo campaign by somebody, so there's that too. Bible UFOs. This is the idea believed by some religious UFO researchers that the UFOs are described in the Bible, particularly in the first book of Ezekiel. Have you ever seen a quote-unquote biblically accurate angel? Those ones where it's like the multiple rings around an eye, described like this from Ezekiel? Beneath these 4 living creatures were 4 wheels. Each wheel was fashioned as a wheel within a wheel, and it could move in 4 directions without turning. Moreover, the rims of the wheels were full of eyes. Well, that's the idea that it's just a UFO, and when you put that into context, I could see it being a UFO. The eyes could be lights. That shape of the ring within a ring or shape within a shape has popped up in UFO encounters before. Barney and Betty Hill. They were among the first people to claim to have been abducted by UFOs, and they would set the groundwork for a lot of reoccurring themes in other UFO abduction stories, such as the aforementioned missing time phenomenon, and another very important one, deep hypnosis recession, which is a topic that is on this list later, so stay tuned! Foo Fighters. Dave Grohl. Just Dave Grohl. Did you know that name is a UFO reference? Did you know that? No, you didn't, you fucking liar. This is what they called World War II pilots who reported encountering and attempting to engage unidentified flying objects. UFOs. Winged beings. Angels or aliens. Next. The reptilians. This is a goated one. The idea, popularized by David Icke, claims that the human race is actually controlled by a race of shape-shifting aliens that are called the reptilians, which, you guessed it, look like reptilian humans. They have worked their way through centuries to control the empires of man and sit atop the deep state, or the Illuminati, or whatever secret society that controls the world you choose to believe in. Now, why would they do this and want to control us? For loosh. Loosh is basically our life force, and they feed off the emotions we face, particularly negative ones. So that's why the world isn't paradise, and you have to go work your 9 to 5 even if the world is ending, because the reptilians need to feed on our energy. And we're not done yet. Their control runs so deep that it has even orchestrated religion. Go towards the light when you die, right? Wrong! That's actually how you recycle your soul to be born into the torture matrix again so they can keep eating your precious loosh. We're just cows. Kenneth Arnold. Ken was a private pilot who claimed to have seen 12 silver UFOs flying at approximately 1,200 miles per hour over Washington state in 1947. This was the first major UFO sighting recorded, and it resulted in a nationwide panic to a degree. Aliens using magic wands. Yes, just like Harry Potter. Many abductees have claimed they saw aliens using some sort of magic wand, and it's believed that it manipulated their psionic brainwaves in order to control them. That's it. Medical experiments on board UFOs. Yes, getting probed in your ass, among other things. Most abductees claim that there was medical operations conducted upon them on board the craft, and were even probed. The part that sucks more is that these people often report multiple abductions as well. That sucks. Think of a field biologist studying like a bird or something. They don't just catch different birds over and over again, they catch the same bird over and over to check its health and how it's doing. Now imagine that the bird is you and the researcher is an alien. You get it? It's pretty bad luck. Or is it? Hollow Earth bases. Agartha. The idea there is that there are entrances into Hollow Earth in places like Antarctica, Mount Everest, and the Amazon. And within Hollow Earth are the bases or outposts where UFOs come from and go to. There could be many other entrances, such as underwater, which might explain the connection there as well. Yep. Broadhaven UFOs. A bunch of people in the town of Broadhaven in South Wales saw a UFO once. World War II German UFOs. During the middle of World War II, the Germans sent a large amount of research teams to Antarctica. Why, you may ask? Well, the idea is that they went there to find one of those aforementioned alien UFO bases. And they did. And they had their own UFO. You know, I feel like they didn't, because that probably would have been pretty useful, don't you think? Yeah. Germans. Hypnosis. This is a very, very integral part of UFOlogy. As mentioned before, many UFO abductees have to go into deep recession hypnosis to pull the memories out of their encounter to the forefront of their brain. Most don't realize they have had an alien encounter, rather just one they couldn't explain. These hypnotists access the memories that had been locked away either by some sort of trauma response or by the aliens manipulating their brains themselves in order to have full recollection of the experience. Triangle UFOs. Black triangles are a subform of UFO most associated with the Phoenix Light incident of 1995, where a bunch of triangular-shaped lights flew over Phoenix and it caused mass panic. But many believe that these UFOs are not actually directly from the aliens themselves and are instead the first operational versions humans have created through the reverse engineering process. Or they could be stealth bombers. Or it could have been a stealth bomber. Could have been a stealth bomber. Have you ever heard of a stealth bomber? It's a triangle. Could have been a stealth bomber. But it's triangle of lights. It's not pretty stealthy, don't you think? Layer 2. They don't have names for these layers, so let's just call this spooky mode number 2. The real Men in Black. Have you ever seen that movie with Will Smith where he works for a secret agency that deals with aliens? Well, it's not too far off. Some people who have encountered UFOs describe being visited by strange men in black suits who interfere with their brain, and these people only recall this because of prior mentioned hypnosis sessions. This has led some to believe that these men in black are a part of a large-scale cover-up operation to keep the UFO phenomenon as hidden from the public as possible. The Nordics, another great one. The Nordics are another race of alien species that look much like how they're described, like people from the Nordic region of Europe. This being extremely tall with pale skin and what appears to be bright blonde and even white hair. A recent 4chan whistleblower from early 2025 who claimed to be a part of the recent Antarctica egg retrieval team claims they also found a Nordic in some sort of stasis pod. The Nordic woke up and described the state of humanity to the team, saying that though they are not the creators of humans, they are in a way our caretakers and have prevented benevolent alien races from interfering with our development for literally centuries. Red Heflin photo. They met Rex Heflin, who famously provided one of the earliest and clearest photos of a UFO in Santa Ana, California around 1967. Sleep paralysis, another great trope of UFO abductee experiences. Many have claimed that they have been fully awake during their abductions straight from the middle of their bed in the middle of the night, but were put into a forced state of sleep paralysis by powers beyond themselves. Aliens. In some cases, they aren't even abducted, rather put into a sleep paralysis whilst little alien men enter their room to analyze them. Talk about a sleep paralysis demon. Winged snake emblems. It's pretty weird, this one, but a lot of UFO abductee encounters report that the aliens on board were wearing some sort of emblem that depicts a snake-like being with wings on it over a cross. Not like a Christian cross, but more like a plus sign. that could possibly hint at some sort of like galactic alliance or something. Children encounter UFOs more than adults, just as the name says, but let's go back again to the biology research analogy. These kids are being tagged from a young age and will re-encounter UFOs throughout the rest of their lives as the alien researchers check back in on their subjects. Sucks. Woodrow Durenberger, I think I said that right. Woodrow Durenberger was an author who wrote a book called Visitors from Lanalos, in which he recalls his true experiences being brought aboard a spaceship and brought to the ship's planet of origin, Lanalos, in the Ganymede system, which I believe is where that trope arose from. Joe Simonton and alien pancakes. This is a pathetic one. A man named Joe Simonton claimed that aliens visited him on his farm. He gave them water, and in return, they gave him pancakes. Of all of the things you could come up with, that's the best you could do. Pancakes. 1973 humanoid wave. In the latter half of 1973, there was a massive public wave of people claiming to see UFOs and humanoids as well. A book was published by the Center for UFO Research in 1976, where they went into detailed accounts of the witnesses describing what they saw. Screen memories. This is a term that means false memories created by the human brain in order to explain that which is unexplainable, and is often part of the post-abductee recollection process. Getting past these screen memories, which may be planted by the aliens, is the purpose of the hypnosis sessions. The Oz factor. This was a term coined in 1951 by UFO researcher Jenny Randles, which refers to the experience of being isolated or transported by the real world of everyday life into another environment, which is quite similar to the real world, but changed enough to be noticeable or disturbing, kind of like the uncanny valley there. Such reports have been common in both UFO and paranormal encounters, but it has been pushed aside due to, it's kind of fuzzy because the person's already being claimed to be abducted by aliens. But Randall's called attention to the experiences as a common element of UFO encounters, so there's that. USOs. Unidentified submerged objects. UFOs, but underwater. You know what? It's the same thing as a UFO. It's the same UFO that goes in the sky, and then it goes into the water, and then it changes its name. It's the same thing, but just ocean mode. Next. Aliens walk among us. Just as stated. Source, though, is from the government whistleblowers who claim they do walk among us wearing masks and shape-shifting like reptilians. There have also been lots of alleged leaks and whistleblowers of alleged aliens who walk among us, but often look very normal and have strange features like being 8 feet tall or really long arms or something. They kind of just wear like a human skin suit to come observe us. Or, the Nordics, they pretty much just look like humans, so maybe the Swedes are aliens. West Virginia. In 1952, a group of boys saw a meteor crash into West Virginia. When they went to investigate, they were instead met by an alien creature. The boys ran back into the town telling the locals, and the legend of the Flatwoods Monster was born. There has also been a decent amount of UFO sightings to come out of that state for decades. Aliens pick really shitty spots to show up. New Mexico and West Virginia. Jesus, guys, come on, give us somewhere better, like Hawaii. Micro UFOs. This could mean really small UFOs. It could have to do with, or it could have to do with untethered floating objects, a micro robot manipulation technique. Thing about UFO researchers is that their end goal may be to get the ships to work, but along the way, we have discovered different tech. Some whistleblowers have claimed that this micro UFO tech and others like modern LiDAR are byproducts of reverse engineering recovered crashes. Thanks, aliens. Richard Shaver. He was an American pulp sci-fi author who claimed that he was teleported into Hollow Earth by 2 humanoid robots that told him about UFOs. Boring. Albert Bender. Albert Bender was an American author who famously wrote an alleged nonfiction book about his encounters with UFOs. But more importantly, he was the first person to report the Men in Black phenomenon, as 3 men in black would visit him in the midst of his UFO work. They telepathically communicated with him, ordering to stop all research, confiscated his current research, then leaving a disgusting smell of sulfur with them. Albert was repeatedly harassed telepathically and in person by these men in black until he permanently halted his operation. portals. I don't care for this one, but the idea is that UFOs create portals to enter through different dimensions and that these portals somehow naturally open themselves in specific locations, such as Sedona, Arizona. And as someone who has spent a decent amount of time in Sedona, Arizona over a few years, I never saw a portal. I just saw old hippies of too much money. And women in black. It's men in black, but women. 3. We're on there 3. Holy figures seen aboard UFOs. Just as the name suggests, but the real meat here is why. Well, there is the idea that they are screen memories created by the aliens in order to make the viewer feel more comfortable in a sort of benevolent way. Like the South Park episode where the alien shows up and it is like, I'm a taco. And then it turns into Santa and it's like, do you want to see my real form? And then it turns into something grotesque and it's like, no, be the taco again. Or it means that these religious figures were aliens or alien abductees themselves. Yeah, I like that one too. Jesus was an alien. Deaths caused by UFOs. Just as David Grush said, some of these UFOs have benevolent intentions, sometimes killing the abductees they have by accident in the surgeries. Other whistleblowers who claim to have been on the retrieval program have said that the aliens on board will often come out hostile, causing deaths in the team before they can be dealt with. And a third example is people getting illnesses from UFOs and aliens. In some encounters, medical professionals and military members have claimed that they became deathly ill after encountering an alien, implying that they have diseases that our bodies can't handle. Kind of like the smallpox annihilating everyone in the American continents from the explorers. The PK Man. Ted Owens was a man with an extremely high IQ, even being part of Mensa. But he claimed that his intelligence was a result of aliens abducting him at a young age and enhancing his brain to communicate through him. He dubbed himself a UFO prophet in the same vein as Moses, and he called himself the PK Man. The messages from the aliens were generally about the dangers of nuclear energy and environmentalism. Super spectrum. Super spectrum was a term coined by UFOologist John Keel, and it refers to a hypothesized invisible energy field or range of frequencies beyond human perception that might be responsible for all supernatural phenomenon from UFOs to Bigfoot. Aliens are not physical. According to some whistleblowers, in particular Dr. Stephen Greer, who's my personal favorite, and he's been around for a while, and he dumps about species all the time, which is to me the most interesting part of aliens, there are forms of alien life that are truly alien to us. Those being energy beings that exist in a different dimension but can still communicate with our own. On a side note, this concept was first created by C.S. Lewis, of all people, in his 1930s book series, The Space Trilogy. Fairies. For the sake of keeping this brief, this entry is very similar to the Jinn, that fairies are actually just an allegory for UFOs. Lots of the same tropes of fairies, like magic distortion or the little balls of light, can be passed into modern-day UFOs, and we only associate these ideas with Tinkerbell-style fairies because of depictions in popular media. Prior to the 18th century, there were no dominant depictions of fairies as little winged people, but only as the glowing orbs, in another very commonly seen variant of a UFO. Sentient UFOs. This is the idea that UFOs are not the craft carrying the aliens, but the aliens themselves. The UFO being alive, and this makes sense with the energy beings to a degree. Alien influence in the New Age movement. Oh Christ, so let's start with the New Age movement. This was a movement from the 70s to mid-80s that promoted a lot of alternative thinking in the West, bringing in esoteric ideas, Eastern mysticism, aspects of the occult, alternate healing practices, channeling, really everything you can think of as weird and wacky, creepy hippie shit. But among these, there was an overarching message of humanity approaching the next step in its evolution, and it isn't biological, but instead a societal and spiritual change to come together as one, which is weirdly enough a sentiment that many alleged alien encounters have said that our ET friends have voiced to them in a different way. With all this being said, another aspect of alien communications is the psychic connection with the astral realm. Well, the New Age movement was kind of what brought that to the attention in the West. So it could be possible that a lot of these gurus that were channeling aliens may have not been lying, and their messages were ones that were actually coming directly from aliens. I don't believe it. All Colors Sam. Sam the Sandow Clown was an alien entity encountered by two young boys in England around 1973. He was a tall, clown-looking creature that never appeared again and is believed to be an alien. On a side note, he was very, very friendly to the kids, and I think this one's kind of cute. Also 1. In the mid-1970s, two Wyoming men encountered and were abducted by a levitating yellow humanoid wearing a jumpsuit who had one arm. The creature was called Osso 1 and took them from Wyoming to his home planet 163,000 light years away. Fake futuristic tech. In my humble opinion, I think this is a part of disinfo campaigns to keep the public looking in different directions instead of UFOs. Animal mutilations. UFOs have been known to mutilate animals. Completely sucking their blood out or skinning them and just leaving the skeleton is a great trope. I, side note, once stopped at a UFO outpost in the middle of the Colorado desert where their main exhibit was a horse skeleton that had allegedly been skinned by a UFO. Great roadside trash. Hybrid babies. So weirdly decent amounts of abductees have reported being impregnated on board alien ships and having hybrid children, half human, half alien, who are usually just human and they can't handle the fact the baby daddy went for milk and never came back. On the flip side, there are some UFO theorists who believe the abductions are a part of an alien breeding program to make a hybrid race for whatever reason, and that abductees are chosen because of ideal genetic code. Aliens love bread. I guess some UFO experiencers have journaled that aliens like our bread, and it turned into a meme. If I'm wrong, tell me. Bedroom invaders, see entry on sleep paralysis, crucifix UFOs. In a certain depiction of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, the sun and moon were depicted with little men inside of them, and they honestly don't look like the sun or moon at all, which has led some to believe that they were UFOs, and that UFOs were present at the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, because fuck it, why not? Magonia. Magonia refers to the realm described by legendary UFO researcher Jacques Vallée. Magonia is kind of like a dimensional buffer that allows UFOs to enter into our realm, and it spits them out in Antarctica, of course. Also, Vallée isn't a kook either. He was a top UFO researcher and was one of the earliest in-program whistleblowers who openly talked about UFOs. He's a legit fellow. Healing UFOs. Another claim I think traces back to Stephen Greer, that there are UFOs and a distinct species on board called the Healers, creative name there, that can heal people's serious health problems in a near supernatural way. He recently shared a story of the Healers curing a man's partial deafness as a part of a recent disclosure wave. Side note, the picture he put on it is just a picture of a campfire with like blurry figures around it. So thanks, Stephen Greer, for always keeping us questioning if you're legit or not. Black-eyed children. This refers to a subsect of Greys that were sent to work with the humans on Earth. Remember a while ago I mentioned how Eisenhower made a sort of alliance with the Greys and some of them are in military bases working with us? Well, some whistleblowers from the program have claimed that they have seen these Greys on the bases and described them as the size of a child with large black eyes. These were also depicted at the end of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Oh yeah, by the way, Jacques Vallée was a consultant on that movie. Makes you think about something, huh? Layer 4, the abduction of Filberto Cardenas. In 1979, Filberto was abducted onto an alien ship. After a hypnosis session, he recalled seeing 3 humanoid beings wearing what appeared to be a serpent emblem on their chest. I remember that one. They telepathically communicated with him, warning him of looming dangers the world was set to face, and repeatedly showing him 3 pyramids with light emitting from them. He was also taken to an underground base where he encountered another human who had chosen to live with the aliens and adopted their way of life. You know, this one's a little bit more believable because he didn't go to another planet. Greys are androids. I kind of mentioned this before, but it's the idea that they aren't sentient themselves and are instead a sort of being that can be telepathically piloted by another being from, again, who knows where. Stefan Denarde. I don't know. Yeah, he's unimportant. It's another author who claims to have met aliens and wrote a book about it. He went to a planet. I'm not counting him. Poltergeist activity. From what I can understand here, it's that these may be a form of what we call aliens and are the non-physical ones interacting with our environment. So the ghost myth is actually just energy beings. It's aliens. Everything is an alien. Bigfoot activity near UFOs. UFOs seem to appear in the woods a lot, and on separate occurrences, a UFO will be reported by one person in an area, and then someone in the same area will report a Bigfoot in an unrelated sighting. But this could mean Bigfoot is an alien. Everything's an alien. Everything's an alien if you try hard enough. Time slips. Time slips are the idea that someone can experience a temporary view of an alternate future whilst in the midst of a UFO. The reason UFOs cause this is due to the belief that they are powered by extreme gravitational manipulation, which also impacts time around the ship. Round Trip to Hell in a Flying Saucer. It's another fucking book by someone who's claimed to be abducted multiple times. I'm sick of the books. Underwater bases. Here's a juicy one. So I've alluded before that there's a connection between UFOs and the ocean. They come out of the ocean, then they go back into the ocean, and it makes sense if you're trying to avoid being seen. We don't really give a shit about the ocean and barely monitor it, whereas the sky, we got satellites with cameras, dude. But here's the big enchilada. Another notable 4chan whistleblower, who I think is the original big one, claimed to have been a part of one of the compartmentalized research teams on UFOs. The biggest claim he made is that there's an alien mothership, but it's not in space, rather it's in the water, deep in the water. They don't know much about where it appears, but it's a ship that stays deep at the bottom of the ocean, mines materials underwater, and functions as a base and mobile factory of a lot of UFO, quote, drones we see. The ship appeared roughly 100 years ago in the form of a comet that crashed in the ocean and has been there since. The other major part of his claim is that the ships created on board, which are a majority of what we collect in retrievals, are specifically made for one purpose, and the reason they are discarded is because they are not useful enough to return to the ship to be recycled. So in other words, we are receiving alien ships from an underwater space Temu. Imagine what their skunk works are like. We're fucked. Cisco Grove. In 1963 in California, two men would see an alien crash into Cisco Grove. When going to inspect the craft, they realized it hadn't crashed and it had actually landed, and two humanoids had gone out to scout the area. The duo described one as nearly 5 feet tall, wearing a white jumpsuit and what appeared to be goggles over the eyes, and the other appeared to be some sort of robot. The aliens chased them up a tree, and the robot shot nerve gas through its mouth at him. He managed to shoot a bow and arrow, because they were bow hunting, at the robot, and when he shot it, it sparked, implying it was made of metal. But don't worry, didn't stop there. The robots, another one came. Another robot came and shot more gas at him, and then he blacked up and he woke up still in the tree because he had tied his belt to it. Okay, one, total bullshit. And two, I really like the idea that aliens from outer space are like, trees, our only weakness. We can't get them out of the trees, shit. The Native connection. Many Native American tribes have their own folklore and mythology. And within those folklore and mythologies have stories of the sky or star people coming from the heavens. I mean, come on, this one's easy. It's aliens. Everything's an alien. Phantom social workers. This refers to the creepy phenomenon that arose in the UK during the 1990s, during which people claiming to be social workers would go to attempt to kidnap what seemed like random children across the country. Where the UFO connection comes in is that some have hypothesized that the children targeted were either potential sidekicks to communicate with the aliens or had already had an alien experience. Kind of reminds me of how the Jedis just show up and they're like, this one has high metachlorians, and they take it. And the parents are just like, okay. The Dade City Flowers. I hate this one. The Dade City Flowers are an alleged alien encounter in Dade City, Florida in 1924, because everyone in 1924 is trustworthy, where locals reported encountering aliens who were, 1, robots, 2, looked like walking flowers, of all things, and 3, came in a little egg-shaped ship. How cute. Gliders. I don't know about this one. I think it refers to people mistaking gliders for UFOs due to the shape, but I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong here. Attempted abductions by a lobster thing. Couldn't find the date this occurred, but 2 girls in Greene County, Pennsylvania claimed that a lobster-like humanoid alien attempted to abduct them through their window. Sounds more like Revenge of the Seafood, if you ask me. The Silver Man. During the year 1978 in Greater Manchester, England, a service engineer would encounter a 7-foot-tall humanoid who appeared to be wrapped or covered in some sort of silver suit. It had 2 thin arms similar to a T-Rex, and it had glowing yellow eyes. He saw it. That's it. Long Prairie Cans. In the year 1965, a man named James encountered a rocket ship parked in the middle of the street near Long Prairie, Minnesota. He wanted evidence of the sighting, so he did the natural thing and attempted to knock it over with his car. Instead, his car stalled because this really happened. So he got out of it and he decided to knock over the ship with his hands because he must have been fucking Hercules. Seeing this, the aliens fled. I call huge bullshit. Riri City carjacking. Riri? I don't know. 1960s, Idaho. Little green men stole cars. These last few, the only place I could find them are quote-unquote urban legends wikis. So I'm calling bullshit on these ones. And that's coming from me. So these are total bullshit. All abductees are hypnotized by the same group. Though there isn't much to back this claim up, it would suggest that all of the deep hypnosis sessions are conducted by the same group whose goal is unknown. To a degree, there is some evidence because there's only a few legit hypnosis people out there. As to why they would do this, well, the answer could be seek the truth or plant false memories. It's really broad. Layer 5, final layer asterisk, because there's one more from me. UFOs of tentacles. I believe this refers to the jellyfish UFO that was sighted somewhere in the Middle East during one of the Middle East wars. And it kind of looked like a recon drone from Star Wars in Episode 5 on Hoth. Remember that one? It was invisible to the naked eye. Some believe that this might fall into the sentient UFO category and that it was some sort of plasma being. Distortion theory. This is the idea that UFO abductions aren't actually occurring to the person. Instead, it's some sort of non-human being. So there's still aliens tapping into the brain of the witness and extracting their perceived fears to project a distorted reality into the person that manifests as a UFO. UFOs cause bad luck, just as the name describes it, but I think this goes a little bit deeper in a different way. I was thinking about this the other day, what it would be like to be an abductee or a witnesser, like a serious witnesser. Like it's not just a dot in the sky, it's a serious UFO. And at least for me, an event like that would become like a consuming aspect of my life. And since it's such an out there topic, it would cause a lot of issues because a majority of people wouldn't believe you. It would potentially ruin relationships and kind of render work even more pointless, knowing that you saw a fucking UFO. So it's not that it's bad luck, but it's more so the experience might send people into like a downward spiral, which you can kind of just view as bad luck, like losing your job and shit. I think it's darker than just bad luck. The absurd nature of some UFO sightings is purposeful. Yes, for disinfo and delegitimizing true experiencers, since they'll get roped in with the kooks. It was a part of the mass cover-up operation. Stickmen. I believe this refers to ancient cave paintings of what could be interpreted as aliens. Some cave paintings have depictions of very small, very tall, lanky stickmen in the same image as normal humans. And these beings could be from different forms of greys. Assuming the greys are androids made for specific purposes, it could be possible that the stickmen are another form of biological android that could be doing the piloting of the ships, or they are the pilots of the greys themselves. The 1981 clown scare. You know, I covered why clowns are scary on a very early video of mine, and I don't think this has anything to do with aliens, especially in 1981. I think the real reason is a combination of Stephen King's It, because of Pennywise, and John Wayne Gacy, because that caused a lot of societal fear for the image of the clown there. So I don't think this one has to do with aliens. Vegetable Man, another one from Urban Legends Wiki. A guy saw a creature that appeared to be made of plant matter in West Virginia in 1968. UFOs attacking ambulances carrying blood. Nothing to report here. I think it was just a one-off event, and it kind of read like a creepypasta. So let me know if there's something else here. UFOs and occupants fear the name of Jesus. Like all conspiracy theories, somehow Christianity gets looped in. Some believe that aliens are actually demons, and like any good demon, they are slain by the word Jesus Christ. Secret elevators. My best guess here is that secret elevators are probably taken to the deep underground military bases where the recovered crashes are held. Witnesses committing self-exit from our world in a bad way. They could either be exiting our world of their own accord because of the weight of the incident, as I kind of mentioned before, or they could be eliminated by higher powers that don't want them to tell their story. Fake people. This could be referring to humans walking among us that are not human, they're reptilians in skin suits, or fake people created by aliens in the fictional series The Gemini Project. Black Dog. Black dogs were a part of English folklore and have also been referred to as hellhounds, as they often are seen accompanying hellish demons. Going off the reinterpretation of most mythology to perceive demons as aliens, this would hint at some sort of dog-like creature that the aliens have been bringing with them, or they had been controlling or something. The 1947 Brooklyn, New York encounter. Throughout a few months in 1947, UFOs were reported hovering above a base in New York City at a Navy facility, generally in a diamond-shaped formation with some sort of like mastercraft in the middle. And bonus round from yours truly. There's a few things I'd like to add to this iceberg that I think are very important in UFOlogy. The nuclear connection. Allegedly, UFOs are very interested in our nuclear weapons. They oftentimes will hover over nuclear facilities and will cut power to the facilities somehow when there are test launches even. This fits into the environmentalism theme that the aliens have as well. Aliens are us from the future. This is a proposed theory from quite a few people, and it explains a few things. The first would be the intervention of nuclear weapons. They don't exist if we destroy ourselves. It explains why they look humanoid, because they are long, distant relatives from our future. And abductions to study themselves in the past to see if we are on the right biological path to ensure their/ours. Deep disinfo campaigns. I've talked about this before, and I want to elaborate on it because I think this is a very important one. Something we see a lot of in modern UFO disclosure are deep military and intel members bringing us the info. On one hand, it makes sense because, like, who else has access to these machines and knowledge? And this is justified legitimately there. But on the other hand, a good portion of these are often sent out to lead the community on a fake path to distract people from the real whistleblowers. And especially as of like the past 2 months, this is February 2025 right now, there has been like dozens of new whistleblowers going around. And what that tells me is that there are definitely some legit ones in there somewhere. And I think Greer is a legit one because he's been doing a lot of disclosure. But I also think a lot of these ones that we see right now are disinfo agents, especially Lou Elizondo, who somehow was propelled into being the forefigure of the whole UFO disclosure movement. He is constantly testifying in front of Congress, and I think that most of the guys that are testifying in front of Congress are probably not legitimate. One anonymous whistleblower once said, if they're calling aliens demons and putting the religious spin on it, don't trust them. They're feds. And I think that was probably true, and Lou Elizondo is one of those guys that puts that spin on it. Long-term disclosure. Another important one that wasn't touched on this is long-term disclosure and acclamation in the media. Some anonymous whistleblowers have claimed that pretty much all sci-fi media for the past few decades has been in an effort to somewhat normalize UFOs in the ideas of aliens and humans working together. And through media like the X-Files, Star Trek, Close Encounters, there have been little pieces of truth or a near truth, like the images of the Greys, so that when they are revealed to us inevitably, they resemble these images from the movies, thus reducing the cataclysm that would have resulted in an unacclimated disclosure. UFOs can be summoned. This is part of a very recent disclosure as well. Stephen Greer has been claiming this for a while now. There's a Lost Joe Rogan podcast where he talks about summoning UFOs. And it's that UFOs respond to people with basically telepathic capabilities, think like remote viewers. And this could explain why the CIA put so much effort into the remote viewer operation, Operation Glass Camera and the Men Who Stare at Goats, not to spy, but to get more advanced NHI, non-human intelligence technology. Some people like Chris Bledsoe even claim they have the ability to summon them at will. The recent egg retrieval whistleblower, Jake Barber, claimed on the Jesse Michaels podcast that he is a part of a company that is contracted to summon aliens as well. And I think the most important thing that we didn't cover is the origins of humanity and humans as a slave race. The idea that humans were created to serve some specific purpose, whether it be mining or to farm, or to be farm animals for loosh, or we were meant to be like the Greys, just androids, but we were left to our own devices and have become what we are today. The Antarctica Nordic claims this is exactly what we are, and that other species have been trying to interfere with us and trying to use us as the tool that we were created to be for a long time. And with that, we end. Happy UFOs, everybody. Hope everyone sees a UFO. I actually hope you don't see a UFO. Hope you don't see an alien. Hope you don't get abducted. If you have been abducted, talk to me. Reach out to me because I'd love to do an interview with you. You've been abducted. Thanks for watching. This was another long iceberg. And I appreciate everybody out there. Bye-bye.